Hello everyone, I hope that you are doing well. So without wasting any time, let's move to the newspaper. First we will identify the important news and then we'll move on to the analysis section. So this is Thursday, May 5, 2022, The Hindu, daily edition. As usual, we begin with identification of the most important news followed by the detailed analysis of the same. Okay, so let's begin. RBI surprises with 40 basis point rate increase amid inflation alarm. Fine, we'll see this. President has no role to play in Paneer Selvan plea, say head SCs. Governor has no authority to transfer mercy plea. Okay, we'll see this. Let's see. To look into sealed cover jurisprudence, again it comes out. You already know what is sealed cover jurisprudence. I'll just get into it only one more time. I'll just tell you the gist of it, right? Examination bill sent to Home Ministry, let it be. Vows to continue steer. Cadres get police notice. Okay, not required. Policyholder bid at LIC IPO reach 1.9 times. Okay. Day to curfew continues in Jodhpur. Okay. There is nothing out here. Most people feel BJP behind right app survey. Okay. Construction worker to get free. No. Okay. There is nothing out here. Six to contain Shigella spread. We have to see what is the Shigella spread, right? We'll see very briefly. Okay. Patiala, no, nothing out here. MBA government failure to ensure reservation for OBC. No. 9 held for death of 2 tribal MPs. No, Delhi High Court direct Twitter to take down defamatory. It keeps on happening. Speed bumps, yes, but no breakdown. Nepal vulnerability is linked to lack of price, not required. Inevitable increase, RBI increase in interest rate was long overdue, not required. Just read the main news. The script for national footprint at Telangana hat trick, not required. In time of war, India will have to find a building ties with Europe, without upsetting with Russia. We already know this. This has been there in news for I think a lot of long time. Okay, so no main editorial today. Inflation control needs another model. Okay, this may be an idea of inflation controlling. We'll just give it a very brief read. Worker hit the hardest. Women and salaries have been affected most by the pandemic. Obviously, we'll give it a very brief read. This also, not a lot of things will be there. There is nothing out here. Text and context with the status of GST compensation due. Read the gist. GST compensation due has been a very long issue between central and state. We'll have to see the gist only. How much is left? India position World Freedom Index 140 it is, right? 150 it is, right? It slipped down. So what are the indicators? Which countries have improved their ranking? We'll see the indicators, which is the most important thing here. The dhwani of one language in another, not required. Award likely to be notified today. Okay, just know about this delimitation thing, right? Read from Lakshmikant. Okay. Lakshmikant, right? Okay, I don't think there is any more news on this page, right? Rest is here. Modi hold bilateral talks with Nordic leaders. Okay, we can contribute to global prosperity. PM, we are contributing to global prosperity. Blue economy, clean energy, IT and innovation discuss. Just know this thing. Okay, on what matters they are discussing. Fine. Sanna Marin, Finland. Magdalena Andersson, Sweden, and Johansgar Ghar Store. This is for Norway and Nordic, and Katin. One must be of this, what we say, Denmark, which is left, right? Modi Micron meet amid Ukraine crisis. This is okay. See, is loud and clear on it interferes with right to life. Let's read it because this loudspeaker row has been in news for a long time. So maybe UPSC can form a question on regarding which article or which it demeans or infringes, right? COVID pandemic not over, caution is vital, says Paul. Yes, it is true. Okay, highest sex ratio at birth in Ladakh, very good. Has lowest, followed by Dadar and Nagar Haveli. Okay. Half long Hindi, a fluent example of give and take. Okay, not required. Let's see here. Not storming Mariupol. Mill says Russia. Look at the condition of this building now. What had been done. War is never good for any side. I have always maintained this. They should have come to the table and talked. War is never good. War will just lead to destruction and destruction. EU proposes phased Russian oil embargo, more sanction in latest show of force. North Korea fires ballistic missile. Okay. Extends COVID cuts, dozen of 7 not required. Off cycle move hints at more aggressive rate increase. Yes, RBI moves, sends stock it down. Okay, not. Wall Street slips ahead of Fed decision. Amazon doubles India cumulative export target. Services export set a new record. We have to say this. State of balance sheet borrowing at decadal high. Okay, off balance sheet borrowing. You know this thing. I think you know this thing, right? Off budget borrowing, right? Now we'll just give it a very brief read. CEA says 7 to 8.5% growth. Okay. Fine. So let's move to this post page. Gets the better of CSK, moves to 4th, and I think CSK is now officially out of the game. Vaishali wins Fischer Memorial title. She's for chess, na? Yes, international. Yes, she's for chess. Okay. So with this, we come to end of identification of most important news. Now let us go directly and read these news, right? Read and understand these news. Okay. So the first news is RBI surprises with 40 BPS rate increase amid inflation alarm. Okay, we know that the world is grappled with the inflation thing, right? The entire world is facing inflation, and that has been intensified more due to the war issues. Pandemic brought inflation, okay, and plus fueled by war slash crisis, because war has not been declared till date. Okay, inflationary pressure becoming acute. Let's see what our RBI governor has to say. Our monetary policy action will strengthen and consolidate medium-term growth prospects of the economy. So he is targeting, or they are targeting, on medium-term growth. Okay. Now we were, since such an unexpected move was there, so there was a fall in the Sensex as well, right? And why this fall? Oh, it is not showing that. And why this fall was there? Because of this unexpected move. Okay, let's see. RBI in a sudden move raised the repo rate by 40 bps to 4.4. Fair enough. Now what is the repo rate? You understand. Repo rate and reverse repo rate. You write it in the comment box and tell me how these are related to inflation control, right? How they are related to inflation control. You write it in the comment box, right? Citing inflation that was globally rising, alarming this and spreading fast. The repo rate increase was first since August 2018. So, Mr. Das said the Monetary Policy Committee had in an off-cycle meeting reviewed the latest economic developments including the impact of Ukraine, and decided to increase the policy interest rate to beat curve accelerating inflation. Yes, it is correct. Look, one thing is certain. RBI was worried about inflation because it has crossed 6% band. Okay, 6% mark, you say, not band, mark, right? It was somewhere about 6.1 to 6.2%. It was between this. So they are answerable to this for a breaching of 6% mark, right? Therefore it was expected in coming time that yes, policy rates will increase, but that it came too fast or too sudden. That was the main shock, right? After the war draws on, the sanctions and retaliatory actions intensify, shortage water. This will lead to what? This will lead to inflation will increase every passing day. Okay, this is what it wants to say. Okay, accommodative stance has been taken. Retained it has accommodative policy stance even as it focus on withdrawal of accommodation when keeping inflation target range with supportive growth. As a part of withdrawal of accommodation, RBI also raised the CRR by 50 basis point to 4.5. So 4% CRR has been changed to 4.5%. Now what will happen? Now since CRR has been changed to 4.5%, so less money is available with bank now. So again, the overall money with the system will decrease, and therefore money chasing goods decreases, which leads to decrease inflation, right? So it has a direct linkage in decreasing the inflation. To drain the liquidity surplus of about 87,000 crores. Can you imagine? This high figure would be just drained by increasing the CRR by 50 basis point. Okay. So MSF will, let's see, other part of the SDF rate would become 4.15. Okay. Standing deposition facility and MSF will be 4.65. These decisions are in consonance with the objective of achieving medium-term growth for consumer price CPI inflation to be 4% with a band of plus minus 2%. You see, that's what I said. It was expected that RBI will take this in cognizance and will increase the interest rates so that the policy interest rates so that the CPI inflation crossing 6% marks is arrested. But yes, it came as a shock because we were expecting that it would come, but not so early, right? Let's see the next news. President has no role to play in Penny Silva's plea, says Supreme Court. The question whether the governor was right in referring the state cabinet's wish to the president instead of exercising his duty under Article 161 has to be decided by the court. Witnesses disagreed with the central government, suggesting that the court should wait till the president took a call on Rajiv Gandhi accession, okay, which is referred by Tamil Nadu governor. A bench of justices said that Centre has missed the obvious question posed by the court by a mile. The pertinent question was whether the governor had, in first place, the authority to refer the mercy plea to the president. Under Article 161 of the Constitution, the governor was bound by the aid and advice of the Tamil Nadu Cabinet Council of Ministers in September 2018. The governor took the governor to release Selvan, who has already served over 30 years in his life sentence. The governor prima facie has no authority to transfer the mercy plea to the president. There was no role of president here under the constitution, and court told additional solicitor general K.M. Nataraj for the center. Okay, we cannot shut our eyes to something that is happening against constitution. We have to follow our Bible. Justice, no authority, however high, could put us spoke in waking of constitution. Okay, in working of constitution. Fine. So it is the thing. Only two things are being discussed here. Cabinet did what? Cabinet repassed. Right. Repassed what? Order of release. Therefore, governor has to sign it. But instead, governor did what? Governor referred to president. So it has to be examined that is this step is constitutional or not. Okay, is constitutional or not. So this is the issue, right? Give it a read. I don't think anything else is important here. Okay, let's see anything else. Yes, SC to look into sealed cover jurisprudence. What is sealed cover jurisprudence? Handing over the important proofs / data related to case directly to the judges in sealed cover. Therefore, copies of same are not available with other parties. Right. So this is sealed cover jurisprudence. This is an extraordinary. This is what? Extraordinary measure, and this measure is used when the condition is very extraordinary and say some riot has happened, and by presenting that proof no riots can happen, then that proof is given in sealed cover or something like that. Okay, which is very sensitive issue. If those things are there, then only this should be used. But what happens, that government has been using it quite often. Okay, reiterated intention to examine the legalities of government filing in incriminating material in sealed cover. Look, filing incriminating material in sealed cover without sharing information with the accused or other parties, right? The court. Okay, now give it a read. I just wanted to tell you what is sealed cover jurisprudence. It has been in news a lot, many times, and we have discussed it in vast detail earlier, right? Okay, look, IPO of LIC has gone to 1.9 times. Okay, LIC IPO reaches policy holders bid. So this, imagine how many policy holders are there for LIC. LIC I think has a lot of money, and I think it is the largest of all which gets money, retail money. Okay, let's see if any news was there. Okay, we have to see. Kerala seeks to contain Shigella spread. Many took ill after taking. Okay. This shawarma thing, right? Shawarma episode of Kasargod. Many people became ill after eating shawarma, and therefore Kerala seeks to continue the Shigella spread. Now let's see. Contain the Shigella. SC registers suo motu case. Okay, in this fine. The health department has decided to conduct further tests in case of Shigella soni bacteria. So it is the shawarma case is due to bacteria, right? Which has been found caused food poisoning in people who had shawarma and water from eatery at in Kerala's Kasargod district recently. Okay, but considering an outbreak of bacteria with many people hospitalized with symptoms after consuming food and water from the eatery, hospitals have been asked to closely monitor things like symptoms of vomiting, fever, and diarrhea. Since tests have found prevalence of the bacteria in the water source used for the eatery will be inspected further. In addition, the health department had decided to inspect water source in surrounding areas. The police has so far arrested 3 persons. Okay, so you get it, what it is. So it is a case study for food adulteration plus unsanitary food making. Okay, so we have to be very sanitary. The things should be sanitary, the components should be sanitary, it should be properly washed and dried and all those things, so that it we doesn't get or so that the food does not become poisonous, right? So you can write this case study in GS3, GS1, maybe in GS2, not directly but indirectly you can write it in GS2 also, right? So let's see if anything else is remaining. Nothing here on this page, nothing here on this page. Okay, so today nothing on editorial page. Two op-eds are there as usual, we'll be doing at last, right? This and your status of GST compensation clause, right? We'll be doing that at last. Okay, read from Lakshmikant, this delimitation panel. Okay, now I would be dealing it today. If it comes more often, then I'll be doing it. So as I've said, three things are there. Blue economy. Blue economy means related to utilization, say economic utilization of sea resources slash ocean resources, right? And you just add your sustainable and economic utility, it would be better, right? Clean energy, you know, IT and innovation, you know. I think you don't only properly understand blue economy, so I give the example: polymetallic nodule mining for various minerals like nickel, cobalt, copper, ferrous, etc. Okay, now SC is loud and clear on noise pollution. Let's see. Supreme Court judgment which governs the use of loudspeaker were intended to protect citizens from being forced orient to noise. Okay, which governs. Okay, fine. Recent this has seen tension rise over use of loudspeaker in temple and mosque. However, the court, while interpreting the law on use of loudspeaker in 2005, has made it clear that it was not concerned with any religion or religious practice. Okay, so this is a very important statement. It means it is not an essential practice, right? Okay, legal principles. The court had made it clear that its judgment regulating the use of loudspeaker and timings were based on legal principle that freedom of noise pollution is part of Article 21. The freedom from noise pollution is part of Article 21. Noise interference with fundamental rights, and okay, we are not concerned with any religion or religious practices. We are concerned only with fundamental right of the citizen, and all those things are there. Noise pollution is not good, and they are saying anything can claim right to create noise pollution even in their own provinces which travel. So it is saying that noise pollution can't be created even in the own private space. No one can claim fundamental right to create noise pollution by amplifying the sound by his speech or with the help of loudspeaker. Not a must. The use of loudspeaker in religious practices. The top court in one of the judgment report reproduced parts of the newspaper column which said the objective of any religion was not to force anyone to listen to his expression of faith. The court said that the logic that loudspeakers were not must to spread the religious appeal to it. Okay, the court said as well the logic that loudspeakers were not a must to spread religious devotion appeal to it. So yes, it is simply. What is my take on this? My take is very simple. The speaker should not be there, and it's not the noise pollution, and it should not be there for not only a particular community like Muslim. It should be banned for all the major community things. And if anyone wants to use loudspeaker, they should get the permission at least from collector level, so that there seems to be a responsibility of the administration as well, and they know that where things are going in what kind, right? Today what happens, anyone who wishes to celebrate start using the loudspeaker, and that leads to actually noise pollution in the society. It is not only that there are 5-time ajans that are only irritating. There are things like birthday party, there are things like marriages, there are things like your Upanayan Sanskar, there are many events, there are all kind of party on Easter days, on Christmas, on New Year's, and on Diwali nights, and on not on Diwali night, we have crackers on any other festivals, on Eid festival recently, right? They start playing a lot of a very high music, a very noisy music, and that leads to what? Actually disturbing the other public, which is not good, right? So it should be considered, and in my opinion, it should be banned altogether. And actually, it is better than banning would be to regulate it via giving the power to district collector to do it to give permission on a case by case basis, and that too with a particular fees attached to it that will in general discourage the people from taking permissions for it, right? And National Commission for Minorities won't interfere in demolitions. Okay, he is Mr. Iqbal Singh Lalpura. He is the commission chairman, right? Okay, let's see if anything else is needed. uh, Here we don't have anything. Okay, off cycle move hits at more aggressive rates as more aggressive rates increases, right? What is off cycle hits? Look, okay, it is during boom, it is during what we say, during fall. Okay, when the industrial conditions are not good. So what happens in general in Indian economy, government start to spend here and government start to spend in this case also. So boom will obviously go on to increase and fall will obviously go on to decrease. So this is the general nature of Indian economy, and this is why Indian economy is often debt burdened, right? But what had happened, off cycle moves hints at there has been a off cycle moves. So what is the off cycle moves? Look, if government start spending here, okay, government spends, then what happened, the purchasing power of consumer increases, but there has been an off cycle move. Means now increasing repo means what, purchasing power of consumer has decreased, as I have explained on the first page. So this leads to what, this leads to this kind of situation. If this is the original, then it is dragging it down. Okay, so this is called off cycle move. So it is going against the nature of the cycle. In general, what happens, the nature of the cycle is it is going up, so it should be supported, and when going down it should be demoted. But what is being happening, the inflation due to increasing inflation, right? In general, what is happening in, wait a minute, what had this happened? Yes, now it is good. In general, what had happened, the inflation increase has forced RBI to adopt such a move, and now it is hinting at a more aggressive rate increases, right? There has been a 40 bps increase, and repo rate has become 4.4%. Right now, it is expected that in the next or next to next policy MPC meeting, it could increase even more. Economists see RBI moving resolutely to slow inflation in coming months. Okay, yes, that's what we are saying, that for off cycle moves are therefore decreasing the inflation. Clear signal that it will embark on a series of rate increases in coming months to counter inflation. Okay, this is the gist of this article. You give it a read. I don't think there would be anything else, right? I have explained you the basis of this article, that why it is so and what it wants to do. You just give it a read to understand. I don't think there would be many things, right? Now, off balance sheet borrowing. What is this off balance sheet or off budget borrowing? Right? There are certain borrowings that government don't borrow themselves, but their firms borrow it. Say this is government, this is a PSU, right? And it goes on to borrow, say $10 billion from market, right? At say 2% interest rate. Okay. So what happens, that this PSUs, this burden will be borne by the government only, right? If PSU say gets this debt serviced, right? It pays back the debt along with the interest. Then also the opportunity cost lost it of government. If the PSU do not pay it somehow, and government has to infuse capital in this PSU, right, to get a bailout from this thing, then also the government pays. And if the government itself is a guarantor to this to this thing, and PSU is not able to pay, then the government has to pay. In all the three cases, what is happening, government has a liability towards this debt, right? But this liability is not shown. Were not shown in annual financial statement. Why? Because it is not the direct liability of the government, but an indirect liability of the government, right? And indirect liabilities are not shown in general there. Okay, so what happens, that this becomes the offshore or off budget or off balance sheet borrowings, right? And this is for any government, general government, state government or central government, right? So let's see, states have done off budget, off balance sheet borrowing through the various entities, resulting in 1% point increase in such hidden loans, okay, or to 4.5%. 3.5% is allowed out of, according to FRBM Act, right? Out of only for this year, that only for this year. 3% plus 0.5% has been made extra for this year, right? It's out of which I think 25%, 0.25%. No, is it 0.5% or 1%? I think it's 1%, right? And then we have a 0.25%. These are 4.5%. I don't remember. Let me check it out. Current borrowing limits for states under FRBM Act, right? Let's see. Borrowing limits in the FRBM from 3 to 5%. Okay, it is 3%. I was correct. and cross since union can release money and even fact returns. Let's see on this. Kavi IAS, what is this? Kavish IAS. Okay. 3%. I think it was 0.5% only. They will give everything, but not what is needed. Okay, union government has decided did accede to the state government for but with significant conditions. State now can borrow up to 5%, means 2% extra is allowed. Only 0.5% is truly unconditional. Yes. It goes like that only. Okay, let's see. Allow 4 increments: 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, and 0.25. Borrow up to 3.5% of GSDP without undertaking any reforms. It is like this. It is not. It should not be seen as 3.5. It is 3 plus 2%. Now this 2% is divided into 0.25, 0.25, 0.25, and 0.5. How much it becomes? And one more 0.25 is needed. Now let's see. Okay, 0.25 if they meet the specific condition. The final 0.5 will be awarded of all the three. Okay, 0.25, 0.25, 1.5. Okay, yes, now it is true. And 0.5. What happens? It 3% original plus 0.5% unconditional and plus 1.5% conditional for reforms. One reform was there in power sector, other reform was there in one nation, one ration card, all those type of things were there, right? Give it a read. So it is 3 plus 2%, right? And out of 2%, 1.5% is conditional, 0.5% is truly unconditional. So it becomes 3.5% unconditional, and that we can see that it has become now 4.5% if we add the off budget liabilities as well, right? Okay. These borrowing have raised by various industries owned by state, which also guarantees the loan. That's what I said, that if the here I have made this, the government owns the PSU, so any liability of PSU ultimately is a liability of government, because government has given guarantees to those loans. And if there is a due or if there is a fault in loan servicing, then or in debt servicing, then government becomes this liability intensifies for the government, right? Around 4 to 5% of revenue of state will go towards servicing such guarantees obligation this fiscal, partially reducing the ability of state government to fund capex. Okay, so state government won't be able to increase the capex or fund the capex fully, because a part of that income is a part of that capex expenditure is going in debt servicing. Okay, and that is a problem. Okay, because in post-pandemic world we need more and more infrastructure, so that especially health and education, so that this thing does not happen again. Okay, you got the picture now? This is off budget expending, off budget borrowing, or off balance sheet. It is not reflected in the AFS, right? Let's see if anything else is needed here. Okay, so we end the examination of the news analysis, and now let us go directly to the editorial analysis, right? So nothing on editorial page. We move on to the inflation control needs another model. Now why this article? Because yesterday RBI has met the policy rate or repo rate as 4.4%, right? So from here only we have to understand lasting inflation control will require placing agricultural production on a steady footing. Look, why is this inflation? Now inflation are of two types, we know, related to supply side and related to demand side. This is called demand side, means related to cost. Okay, and this is related to what we say, demand on supply side, related to supply side only. Okay, cost push inflation is there. Okay, I think. Okay, on supply side what are the problems, and on demand side what are the problems? When consumers requires a good more consumers requires the same amount of good, this leads to inflation, and this is good inflation. Why? Because this will lead to weakening of supply side constraint, because the money will go to supply side, the producers, and that will lead to what? That will lead to decreasing the supply side constraints and hence increasing the production, right? In supply side what happens? Producers starts to produce less production. Okay, and in this case consumer in the goods to money ratio will decrease, and this will lead to increased inflation, but not due to consumers choice for that good, but due to less availability of that good, and this is called supply side. Now our inflation, now what happens if we say we go for repo rate, right? 4 to 4.4%. This means that the consumer will have less money, and since consumer have less money, so he will buy less. But what is the actual problem? Is our inflation demand side driven? No, it is not, because demand has already slumped during the pandemic times, and recovery in the post pandemic time is not up to the mark. We expected a V-shaped recovery, right? But we got a K-shaped recovery. The reality is that we have a K-shaped recovery. Okay, so not barring few sector, in almost all the sector there is a the level of we have not able to reach even the pre-COVID level of demand. So obviously this is not a demand side inflation problem. So what kind of inflation problem it is? It is more related to the supply side constraint, because due to pandemic the supply chain has been disrupted. Okay, it has been affected a lot in a negative way. So what we need to do? So as per me also, we need to constrain this supply side challenges. We need to solve the supply side challenges, so that what happens, the supply side challenges getting supply side challenges sorted out will lead to a more robust supply chain, and a better management will lead to what? A better availability of good, and that itself will drive the demand side inflation, right? So it is like this. So let's read it, what examples or what ideas it says. Lasting inflation control would require placing agriculture production on steady footing. Yes, as I said, it is more related to supply side constraint than demand side constraint, right? Cut. And yes, this is called, the demand side one is called cost pull inflation, and this is called demand what I'm saying, this is demand pull, okay, and this is cost push, right? Okay, you got this. Now let's see. Okay, inflation is back as talking point in the public arena. Obviously people don't have enough to eat, and inflation is rising. Wholesale price index has been in double digits of around 16% to 18%. It has been, WPI is about this much, right? And official measure of inflation, CPI, has crossed the 6% bar. As I said, it is 6.3% in average, or even more than that. Okay, it has led to what? It has led to raised repo rate somewhat sooner than was expected by the market, and this led to crash of the share market. Okay. Discourse on inflation. The discourse on inflation engaged by Western Central Bank, in which has been adopted in toto by the Indian counterpart, is so abstruse that it is not understood even by many economists. The starting point of this discourse is inflation reflects excesses of output over natural level. Okay, excesses of output over its natural level. Let me see what it wants to say. Okay, let's read further, then we'll understand what he wants to convey through this statement. Inflation targeting refers to the policy of controlling inflation by raising the interest rate over which the central bank has control. Okay, which is called the repo rate. This is argued will induce firms to stay their investment plans, reduce inventories, lowering the production. Economy-wise output declines, becoming equal to the natural level of output. Inflation will cease. This story does not just legitimize a policy of output contraction for inflation, but sees it as an optimal. The natural level of output itself is productive counterpart of natural level of employment, the level that obtains a freely functioning labor market. So the natural level of output, the economy, is deemed to be at full employment. So what it is saying, natural level of production implies full employment, full level employment of that time, right? Look, but the problem is what? We are faced with the less supply of goods. We are not faced with the oversupply of goods. Means we are not overproducing things, which is leading to inflation, but we are underproducing things, and it is leading to inflation, right? And this is why we have to control this thing. And with current policy of decreasing the money in consumer hand will not work in long term. Okay, and therefore I think RBI has taken it as a medium term stance, right? Reflecting overheating of economy is something that must be taken on trust. Surely it is disturbing that India official mode of inflation control is based also on scientific foundation. At least a view of inflation that has ruled central bank of the West before they adopted inflation targeting was based on something tangible, namely the growth of money supply. Not surprising for a theory based on unobservable viable. The proposition that inflation due to an overheating of economic fares poorly when put to statistical test for India. We are not aware of a single demonstration of empirical validity of model of inflation presented in RBI report of 2014, which recommend move of inflation targeting. Okay. On other hand, in our public research, we explain inflation in terms of movement of prices of agricultural good, to a lesser extent imported oil. Okay, so their research is based on movement, tracking the movement of prices of agricultural good, and to some extent also to imported oils. Okay. Okay, as the demand of agriculture grows, so will the inflation, and this become cost, output, and employment. Okay, at least this is in theory. Whether this pay okay, agriculture good prices. Okay, it is going on the same lines as we have discussed, right? So it says that RBI targets CPI, okay, which has certain basket, which is a basket of goods and services. Similarly, they target inflation index based on agri goods, right? But again, this may cater the food inflation and all those things. but again the industrial inflation won't be captured by this, the service based inflation won't be fully captured by this. So the overall inflation in the economy, in my opinion, won't be captured by this, although it may be a better index as compared to CPI. No, it is even not even better than that, as I think, because CPI as a basket has almost representation from all those things, all those sectors, right? So, but it is a good idea to at least increase the share of agricultural things that are out there, right? Okay, the worker hit the hardest. Women and salaried worker has been affected most by the pandemic in India. Yes, of course. Okay, most of the salaried workers, half salary or plus delayed, right? One thing is this: women increased in home, domestic work, plus increase in domestic violence, plus increased burden of teaching, educating child, plus increased sexual abuses, plus increased care services, plus etc etc, right? So these things are there. Give it a read. I don't think it would be that far engaging. Okay, it is, as it seems that it is data and data, only data. And he's the managing director of CMIE, and which gives the unemployment data in India, right? Unemployment rate it has been publishing. It is about I don't remember, about 8, 9 or 13% it is. Okay, now let's see if anything else is remaining. Yes, the text and context page will be remaining. Center versus state thing was there. The status of GST compensation due. Okay, so union gives states, okay, this GST compensation dues for 5 years. It was promised, and 5 years is almost over, right? Let's see the gist. Last week Prime Minister said that 7 state has failed to cut taxes on fuel products. Some of the states countered that due to pending dues from center, including that of GST, it made it difficult for them to lower the fuel taxes. The finance ministry responded that outstanding GST compensation due to state stood at 78,704 crores. It said that it was unable to pay the dues owing to inadequate balance in the compensation cess collection fund. If a state gets larger share of the higher GST collection clocked in April, it would help them to push capital spending plan to execute public infrastructure project. Yes, this is very easy. What is it is saying that states have not been able to cut down on fuel cost because they have not been compensated under the GST compensation part apart from the government, right? From the central government. So since they are not getting the required promised amount of GST, so what they have to do, they have to arrange money from somewhere anyhow. So they are arranging it from the cost of the petrol. And remember one thing, petrol products are not yet in GST pool, right? So after that, it is saying that the center has said that yes, we have got a lot of collections this April, so we can by devoluting the fund from this part, what will happen? It will lead for more fiscal space for the states to counter out the increasing fuel prices by decreasing the taxes thereon, right? Look, economy is easy. You have to understand the basic concepts. Give it a read, you'll get it. The gist is enough, I think. World Freedom Press Index, read the gist only. Know that it is at 140 right now, 150 right now. Why I'm saying, last year it was, I think. India's ranking has fallen to 150. Countries are evaluated on 5 contextual indicators: political context, legal framework, economic context, socio-cultural context, and safety, right? So these are the 5 pillars on which this Reporters Freedom Index, right? World Freedom Index is based, published by Reporters Without Borders, right? The report describes India as one of the world's most dangerous country for media. Okay, it highlights the supporters of Hindutva, the ideology that is spawned Hindu far right, wages all out online attack on any views that conflict with their thinking. I think it is biased. In my opinion, it is fully biased. Okay, towards the global narrative. Okay, look, we all know that the global, in all the global places, or in all the important places in the globe, people do not not on the globe, or on the important places, especially in the Soviets, right? People do not want wars or anything kind of such thing that creates controversies to stop, because else what will happen? Their shops will be closed, right? So this is why they get such bias, they make such biased statement, like the supporters of Hindutva ideology that spanned the Hindu far right, which is all out online attack on any views that conflict with their thinking. If a person is asking something or saying something on online platform, okay, that does not mean the entire community is saying that. It is that person who is saying that. Okay, but what happens that in opposite cases, when people from Islamic group or from a Christian or from any other group, excluding Sikh, Buddhism, Buddhist, Jains, and all those things, all those people, right? The Abrahamic religion, especially, but again excluding Jews. So particular religions, if they say that yes, people from that particular religion, if there's something, then that become freedom of speech. If people from a religion like Jews, religion like a Hindu, religion like anything else, if they something and say something, it becomes a Hindutva politics. This is why this is simply based on the principle of interest. Try to understand this principle. What is the interest of these media houses or these things? Their interest is always served, or it is best served when there are controversies. So they will try to create controversy. It is for the people of India. I'm not saying any particular religion at large, right? This is for the people of India to understand these things and live peacefully. And yes, there will be problems for media houses, for reporters, if they keep on giving the biased news. The day they will start to deliver actual and correct news, right, they will not be targeted, especially by the so-called Hindutva. We all know this, right? Therefore it is trying to demean this thing. More or less they talk about Hindutva in relation to RSS, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, and all those things. Sir, RSS is an organization. It is the largest NGO of the world. Sir, it runs because of its viewpoint. It wants to help the Indian masses, right? It has shown its courage, or its metal. It has proved its metal when there are floods, when there are earthquakes. People volunteer from these organizations. We do not find any of your organization, especially these big media houses and these Reporters Without Borders and all those people coming to those disaster prone area or disaster stuck area and do the volunteering work. We never find them, but they come on to judge us that yes, you poor Indians, you are at 150. Sir, in my best knowledge, the government should outrightly reject it and create its own such kind of indices, because world needs a better index, especially the developing and LDC world. These indices are more or less based on developed countries or countries in data, and they compare developed and developing country and show the developed country as outrightly more spiritual, and they are the avatars of God. They do everything right, and we, the developing countries, are like what we say, any tiny creature that don't even know how to live. This bigotry they have, this the white man supremacy they have still in their thinking, right? And this should go. Okay. Now let's see, a lot said and written. Let's see what else we have on this. We have nothing out here. So I think with this we come to end of today's newspaper analysis. Yes, it was a long read, right? But yes, again your homework is same. You know, your homework is write down in comment box how you will use the articles in your GS answer. You know, I read each and every comment, so do comment. And for now, I take a leave from you. Okay. So friends, I really hope that you like this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe our channel and share this video with your friend. Follow us on Telegram as well. Also, keep studying hard, keep following your dreams, and keep tuned to our channel. Comment below for any suggestion. Till then, goodbye, good luck.